Ryan Clark is with me. Ryan, of all the football games you and I have followed, this is the most recent. Yeah.
It's the thing, man. We've done so many games together.
Yep.
And there's always excitement leading up to the Monday night game because you're expecting that someone does something spectacular. And when the game is as unspectacular as this game was on both sides of the football, even the greats like you who can host a show in a basement in Washington, D.C., all by himself with only his bald-headed friend alongside of him, can't even make it interesting.
No, yes, we can, because we got you here and you got that big old pointer right there. Listen, the Jets' offense has been a mess, and we understand, and they were again. However, a lot of that, I think, had to do with this Chargers defense. And look, Swagoo put it on him before on Monday Night Countdown. He said, look, you guys have all the talent in the world. Play to the ceiling. What did that unit do, the Chargers defense?
You watched it from the start. If you think early on in the game, you see the Gilman big hit on Allen Lazard. And so that team was already moving around and making plays. When you're looking at Zach Wilson and what he has up front, what are you going to do in the weeks going forward to build off of this performance to give yourself a chance to make a run at the playoffs?
Why'd we all pick the Jets?
You know, we're going to be a meme.
I apologize to the Chargers social media. You guys are buttoned up, and it was my fault. I should have saved the graphic, and I failed. I will not fail again. But I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I should have gone Chargers.
I mean, you know what it was, though? It was one of those things we've watched the Jets grind and use grit to get wins this season. And you felt like when it came to toughness, when it came to physicality, that they could overwhelm the Chargers in some way.
At some point, you have to be able to score. And you just, I kept saying pulling rabbits out of the hats. At some point, you look in the hat and you're out of rabbits. Now, if we push back, we are at the official halfway point of the season. So we have an entire half to go. And we look treetops at the AFC, okay? The Chargers and Jets sit where they sit, and the Chargers get the 27-6 win. To this point, the Chiefs' defense is carrying them for the time being, but it's the Ravens that I think we all agreed on countdown to this point have shown perhaps they have the most complete and maybe highest ceiling in all of the AFC. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fair. When they play at their best, when their players reach their potential, I don't even believe it's close. When you talk about the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks, who were two teams that were battling to show that they could be a part of the NFC supremacy, they got their doors blown off.
Neither team had a chance. The game was over at halftime, basically, in both games. And Detroit and Seattle are nice, but Baltimore is like none of this, man.
Exactly. And I think, and what that says to me, though, is when the stakes raise,
I got you.
When the stakes are at their highest, we've watched this team play their best. And actually, it makes you look at their season and their two losses and go, how the hell they lose to those teams?
I have no idea.
You know, and that's what it is. Like you go back to Pittsburgh and you think about the drops and you think about the way that Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt were able to close out the game. You say to yourself, can that happen again? Right? You watch them go to Cleveland and dominate that defense. You dominate Seattle. You dominate Detroit. It seems like when this team is locked in, there is no team that's as good as they are, and especially with what Mike Macdonald, the defensive coordinator, has done defensively.
It's interesting. I'm glad you brought up that Cleveland game because their defense at times has looked absolutely terrifying. And what Baltimore did in their trip to Cleveland, as we look at the first half of the year, that's one of those performances you go, against them? What they did in that one was nasty. We're going to see the Jaguars a little later this year against that Bengals team who, look, 54% at the moment, but I think we all know that Bengals team now is not the Bengals team that we saw back in the fall.
But you know what else, too, Scott? Scott, but they have some tough games coming up. Like the road the Bengals have to travel down the stretch of the season is going to have them battle-tested. And I think the Jacksonville game is more a measuring stick to me for Jacksonville than it is for Cincinnati. Because when number 9's healthy, we know exactly who that team is.
We saw that dude go to Arrowhead, and we saw 1 year, and we saw him go to Buffalo in the playoffs and win. So, I'm with you. We buy that. And listen, if you're a really good team, then guess what? You're going to have to win hard games. You're going to have to win games against good teams. Philadelphia's going to have to do that. Philadelphia's going to have to win a bunch of games. They got like 5 or 6 tough ones in a row.
Think about this too, Scott. Think about a team like Miami. Like what have you seen when you're watching that team? Because we've seen them have the highest of the highs against the bad teams, but we've watched them against 3 good football teams and those games were never in question to be Miami's opportunity to win.
I don't think any of us doubt that Miami's good, but at some point you got to beat a good team. Thus far, the three best they've played, they've lost to. But they will have opportunities to prove it between now and the back end of this season. Ryan, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, my brother.